My close brother Mikawi, appreciate you, thank you. He went down to Perth and the cops jumped him down there. I was full pissed off when the cops jumped my brother Mikawi down there because he did nothing wrong. He was sitting in a car and then the cops said to him, what are you doing here? And he said, what do you mean? I'm just visiting friends. Menace, love it, appreciate you. And the brother Mikawi said to the cops down there, because I'm still visiting friends. And they said, yeah, well guess what? He goes, this belongs to us, not you. Boof. Bro, Slavik, appreciate you. They full jumped my brother Mick while he was sitting in the car because in their heads, the cops down there, they thought that Mikawi was coming trying to take over Perth, but he wasn't. He was actually just visiting family members and friends, and they full jumped him down there, you know. His freaking head was like this, and I remember the brother called me and goes, fuck, I can't go home like this. And I said, what the fuck happened to you? Like, I was going to go down and help him at Perth, and he said, nah, it was the cops. Like, what do you mean the cops? He goes, bro, the cops full jumped me for no reason. And I was like, whoa. That's how I realized Perth cops, they don't F around. Do the Shias and Sunnis roll together? Look, yeah, like all the Muslim boys roll together. But look, I'm going to say it plainly. Tara, Menace, Taro, appreciate you. Inside prison with the Sunnis and Shias, the only thing that splits them is the dramas, or not the dramas, but the politics that happens overseas. As soon as stuff like that overseas comes on the news, straight away there starts being little tensions between them. But the Muslim boys, they full stick together. Menace, appreciate you, my man. Would you ever go to Tonga? Yeah, 100%, bro. My close brother Nach lives in Tonga. I would love to go to Tonga. I actually told him I was going to come to Tonga. When's the next NZ trip? Bro, honestly, my parole finishes in 2 years and I'm going. The first country I'm going to go to is New Zealand. I can't wait. Did I send Hefs? Are you talking about Hooligan Hef? If you're saying, did I send him to protection? No, I didn't. That had nothing to do with me. He left off his own accord. Not to protection. I'm just saying, like, he left the pod off his own accord. I didn't say nothing to the bloke. I didn't even know the bloke was there. He went to a pod 13, and pod 13 was OC pod, and I was in pod 10. And when that hooligan came in, he went there for one night and then disappeared. I never even knew nothing about it. I didn't even know this occurred. But on one of Hooligan's songs on YouTube, on all the comments, all his OC mates started calling him a dog and a pussy for bailing from the pod. So no bloodline ever knew that Hooligan Hef bailed from the pod. It was his own boys that were belittling him. That's how we found out. And you know, like, you can all sit there and think, oh, maybe Triggz is talking shit, maybe this didn't even happen. But I'm going to tell you something. I was there in pod 10 when this happened. I actually didn't know what happened. I heard it from my guys because it was on comments, yeah? But I met guys that were in that pod that have good relationships, not only with OC, but also with the Bloodline boys. And they're also very well respected in prison. JM, appreciate you. I've met probably about 6 or 7 guys that was in the pod when that hooligan bailed, yeah, from the pod. One of these guys' names is Matty Sales. Everyone knows Matty Sales from Mount Joy. And even he said it. He goes, he was there as well when it happened. Like, hooligan actually thought that my brother and I were in the pod, but we weren't. We were in different pods. My brother was in pod 8, I was in pod 10. So yeah, he bailed for no reason. He was actually in his own boys' pod. Yes, I was with Michael Kanan in Supermax. Very good brother, I was with him. Anyway, we're at Goulburn and we're playing cricket, and our cricket bat was a chessboard. Thank you, Philos. So I had a chessboard and we were using it as a cricket bat. Okay, appreciate you. And we had a tennis ball, yeah? Long story short, I hit the ball when it got bowled to me, and it went over the fence and it bounced towards the screws, yeah? And Adam Langy, JM, appreciate you. He's the funniest bloke, but he's a friggin' machine. Like, he's actually a very good fighter. Anyway, Adam walks over, dawdles over, and he's a big muscly guy. He's like, Chief, you get us the tennis ball? And the screw chucked it over. Playing again, Boom. I hit the ball over the freaking fence again. Adam walks over. Hey, Chief, you grab that tennis ball? The screw ignores him. Chief, can you get the tennis ball? We're playing a game here. So the screw dawdles over, grabs the tennis ball and chucks it over to us, yeah? Playing again cricket, and then whack. I hit the ball again over the fence, and I'm like, fine. Everyone's looking at me, go, bro, that's the third time you've hit it over, yeah? The ball goes over and it starts bouncing, and there's 5 screws sitting down, yeah? They're doing nothing. Remember, these screws, they go to work every day, and all they got to do is lock the fences, the gates, and lock our cells. Like, very easy job when you're a screw, yeah, and you get paid good money. And the ball went bouncing, and then Adam yelled out, Chief, and grab that tennis ball. And this is the 3rd time Adam's done it, yeah? And the screws are sitting there ignoring him. Goes, Chief, and grab the friggin' tennis ball. Screws ignored him. Goes, Chief, are you deaf? And grab the tennis ball for us or what? And the screws kept sitting there, yeah? And I fucking couldn't stop laughing. When he goes, yeah, that's it. You're all on the list. Every single one of you, all on the list. Bro, I swear, every single islander in there just cracked up. Like, I was holding the chessboard because I was batting, and I got that, I was holding my stomach, and we were all laughing so much that the screw started laughing, and then the screw walked over and grabbed our tennis ball and gave it back. But the difference between Oz and New Zealand gangs is New Zealand is very behind. So a lot of the crimes that happen in Australia, when they bring it to New Zealand gangs are like, oh, frig, where did you learn that from? But it's been happening in Australia a lot. So a lot of the 501s that got deported, thank you, no comment. They started making big money when they got to New Zealand, the 501 gangs. And that's because all the crime that they were doing here in Australia, New Zealand gangs didn't know about it, you know? Like, obviously, like I said, New Zealand gangs, they're very strong. You don't F around with them, and obviously they are very smart. I know a few New Zealand gangs who make big money, you know, but when it comes to like crime, Australian gangs far out. They're on another level. I've seen it with my own eyes because I've been in and amongst it, yeah. And Australian gangs make big money. And for those of you who don't know, in New Zealand, drugs around the world, it costs way more in Australia. So that's the reason why a lot of gangs around the world try to send it here, you know. And well, it is what it is. Like, it's like a cat and mouse game with the cops and the gangs, you know. Gangs are trying to do what they got to do, and the cops are doing their jobs to the best of their ability. You know what's effed up is seeing lawyers, cops, screws when they're on the UGDREs. It's just funny to me, you know, because they're supposed to be law-abiding citizens, and these guys actually go party. Like, there's stories that I know of from lawyers, yeah, where they have big, massive parties, and all these rocks, appreciate you, is what they party on. Judges, lawyers, barristers, QCs, they're all partying on this. I swear, I full spun out. I'll tell you another story, yeah? There's these 2 boys. They took out 2 lawyers. Like, it wasn't a date. They just went out and had fun, yeah? They went and ate and whatnot. After that, they went and partied. Everyone was on the alcohol, and they got to be drunk. Then the 2 female lawyers told the 2 boys that were taken out. And mind you, these two guys were 2 criminals. These 2 female lawyers represented these 2 before, yeah? So all 4 of them finished partying with alcohol and whatnot, and then they told the 2 guys, hey, let's go back to a hotel and let's party on this, yeah? And then the 2 guys were like, oh, yeah. But we got no money here. You got any money? These are 2 blokes who act like they're the biggest gangsters in Australia, yeah? But when the 2 female lawyers asked them to go get this for them, they said they had no money. So they asked the 2 lawyer girls for money. And the 2 lawyer girls were so embarrassed that they told the other 2 guys, oh, now you know what? Don't worry about it. We're going to go home. My law gangster. Dickheads, bro. You know what? I'm gonna fucking release the name of these two dumb cunts in about a week or two, yeah? Bruh, we get all freaking gangster and then Nick Minute, Carl Little, that's a name. He's another kooris that's he was in a fight, and long story short, Carl Little got charged for Abo, appreciate you, because a screw got. I'm not gonna explain it all, but he got charged for that, and he got many years for it while he's inside prison. And long story short, from what Carl Little said is yeah, he did throw punches, he did attack back when the screws tried to jump him, but that screw didn't die from his punch. He that happened to him because of his heart problems, you know. Anyway, it's something that Carl's still going to court for now. Yeah, the most dangerous kooris that I've come across is Dougie Johnson. Like, there was others that were dangerous as well, but him, man, he had some screws loose in his head, you know. Like, he did not care who you were, DC. Mate, if you have to round with Dougie, he'd be coming for you. He's a good man. I got along with Dougie. Best hands in BL, bro. A lot of boys got good hands, you know. Got my brother 20 Heat, got Hulk. A lot of the boys in BL can fight. That's why they're there, because they can fight. They can handle themselves. That's what BL is all about, standing on your own 2 feet. Not about friggin' crying when you're by yourself, you know. Is Rabi Kalachi a trump? Yeah, of course, Rabi Kalachi was a trump of the Lebos boys when I first came in. Well, any stories about who? Cambodians. Well, yeah, I come across a lot of good Cambodian boys. Samba, Soap, Mel, Barak. Bro, these Cambodian boys, all very good boys when I come across them, you know, as a gentleman. And the last time Barak, everyone thought he was Islander because he's big, massive, and he had an afro back when I met him, you know. But now the guy is doing all this. From the last I heard, he's doing all this stuff with the youth, training. He's also, and I saw him during this thing where the Cambodian government came to Australia, and he was there, and I was like, bro, what's this guy doing with, in and amongst like the United Nations meeting, you know? But I didn't realize he was just there supporting his country. That was it. Like I always say, there's people who think they can fight, but when it comes to the crunch, yeah, it's very embarrassing. If you ask me the question, who's the best on the pads in prison, I could probably tell you that. Everyone on the pads looks like they're freaking Mike Tyson, bro. But when it comes to the crunch, it's like, Masood Zakaria, yes, he is Afghan, and he's a machine. I've never actually met him personally, but a lot of my boys have, and they got big respect for him, you know. Rip Crazy Dave. Crazy Dave's not dead. He's still alive, bro. The best Lebo fighter. Bro, you know what? Bro, there's Bill Kalachi was a good fighter. Has Kalachi, Ahmed Sleeman. But there was a lot. Like I can't actually pick one specific one. But yeah, Ahmed Sleeman was a machine. Yeah, Brownie, of course. Brownie was a machine. Mate, he was very feared. Bro, hey, was that Spaniard that got? Are you guys sure it was Spaniard? I thought it was fake. Honestly, I did see the news thing. I didn't think it was Spaniard, but people that are speaking now on my on my live is saying that. Did you see Spaniard get got? It was fake, eh? I knew it. Everyone's saying it was fake. Spending, yeah, there's a big thing that was on last night, saying that someone got abstayed in Glebe area, and then people were saying it was Spaniard. Happy, appreciate you, my man. But yeah, it's definitely not it can't have been Spaniard, because someone wrote last night that he was flying around. You thought I was AWOL? Hey, I don't know why people keep saying they think I was AWOL. I don't look like AWOL, bro. This bloke. Spaniard and Colombia in prison. Nah, I didn't know about that, but I did hear about it. A lot of my friends know both Spaniard and Colombia, but not me. Beast test. Nah. Oh, Moe Beast, yeah. Mo Beast, we grew up in Villawood together back when the Bronx was going off. I don't. For those of you who don't know, Villawood used to be known as the Bronx, certain side of it, and my family and Mo Beast's family, Mo Beast the car dealer, yeah, we all grew up in Villawood together. Do I have any videos of me in the cell? I think the police have them all, but yeah, you know what? The police got all those videos and they actually gave it back to me. So yeah, I'll check my USBs. You know what? Oh, we'll do that. What about Tongan gangs, bro? There's so many Tongan gangs, far out. Like, who do you want to know about? Yeah, Burwood Blues. They came before UTB. There's Burwood Blues, then UTB, and then you had all the other Tongan gangs that came after them. For example, those Layla Park Crip boys. There was so much like wannabe American gangs, including myself. But I wasn't trying to be American. I was just being an idiot. But yeah, there's so many gangs that have come and gone. When the gang leader of 5T got, it was my mum that told me about it. I was still a little shit in high school. SOS. So SOS in America is Crips. SOS in Samoa, New Zealand, and Australia, when I was coming through, were all Bloods. So that didn't really make sense. And you know what didn't make any sense to me as well is the fact that the Tongan flag was red, full red, and they were repping Crips, which is all blue. And then the Samoan flag was red with a bit of blue in it. But they were representing Bloods, but there was blue in their flag, you know. So it's a bit weird for me. I didn't know. That's how I realized. Nat, appreciate you. That's how I realized that the gangs that were coming up in my time, Bloods and Crips, just imitating stuff that they saw on TV. That's what I was doing. I was imitating stuff that I saw on TV. Just a wannabe gangster when I was growing up as a kid. TLC is the biggest Islander gang that came through prison. You know, like, you can talk all the itchy you want about TLC for those people who hate against TLC, but let me tell you something. If it wasn't for TLC, none of the Islanders today would have a secure place in prison. Doggo, appreciate you. Like, they were the ones that fought for our right to walk in prison, because a lot of Islanders were getting jumped back in the 90s. Not because they couldn't handle it, but because they were always alone. There wasn't much Islanders in prisons back in the early 90s. The Aussies ran it first, and then that's when the kooris came out, because obviously they had the numbers. Dogo, appreciate you. That's why I tell it how it is. When people try to hate and say that kooris and the Lebos, never ran together, or they were never aligned. What do you mean you were never aligned? Like, mate, the kooris were running it, yeah? And the only reason why Lebos were allowed to go into their prisons was because they were aligned. That's the reason why. If you weren't aligned with the kooris, then you wouldn't be allowed in their prisons. You know? The Lebos are very, very good at what they do. They know how to smuggle mobile phones, UGDRs, inside prisons. Lebos, back then, were the go-to people when it came to UGDRs, mobile phones, and all that stuff, yeah? One sec, guys. It's far out. My battery's about to die. Let me just put the charger on. Booze, back in action. So, yeah. And so, Koori boys, as strong as the Koori boys were, their weakness was UGDRs, yeah? So this is how the Lebos used to use the Koori boys. They'll give them UGDRs and they'll say to them, chop that bloke. That's how it worked, yeah? This is the same as the Asians. The weakness for the Islanders was Ugdres. So as soon as the Asian boys needed someone to be up-chain, they'll be like, here, to the Islander boys, and the Islander boys would attack. The only good thing about the Islanders back then is they had Moses as the leader. So Moses stopped the Islander boys from doing rubbish work for the Asian boys. So Moses was the one who put a stop to it and said, listen, from now on in, we put in our own work, but we are still aligned with the Asians. So if they go to war, we go to war. If we go to war, they'll back us all the way. Like Asians and Islanders were always very, very close, you know. And for people who don't know the politics, it's because they were not in the main when it was going off. And the Lebos were getting backed from the kooris boys. The kooris boys weren't backing up the Lebo boys. Because they were friends. They were backing up the Lebo boys because the Lebo boys were giving them Ugdres. That's why, you know. And the kooris boys were willing to put in the muscle work because the only way they could get Ugdres was from the Lebo boys. That's what you call an alliance, you know. You're feeding the muscle, and the muscle is willing to go above and beyond for you. An alliance, yeah. And when the kooris had the power and they were running all the prisons, not all the prisons, but like their prisons, the Lebos couldn't go there. But because they were the ones that had the Ugdres and they knew how to smuggle mobile phones and all that, the kooris were like, all right, you know what? Lebos can come there, or Middle Eastern boys can come to our prisons, but Islanders get effed. Asians get effed, you know? And then obviously the Fijians aligned with the kooris and the Fijians were allowed to go there. But if you were Vietnamese, Māori, Samoan, Tongan, yous were getting chopped. Chinese were allowed to go into the kooris prisons. Lebos, Middle Eastern boys were allowed to go into the kooris prison, and Fijian boys. These are the only nationalities that were allowed to go to kooris prisons, but because the kooris boys allowed them to come in. So the kooris aligned themselves with these nationalities. Birds, appreciate you. And when they aligned themselves with this, it was mutual respect. Why? Because this is what the kooris need. Ugdres, money, and mobile phones. They don't know how to do this stuff. Like, their thing is, they're country boys, they're city boys, and it's very rare for them to get visitors that can help them swindle moves. Middle Eastern boys, they always get love from their boys, from their families, everyone. They all, you know, like Middle Eastern people, they work together to do what needs to be done. That's how close-knit they are. And that's why I'm saying, when I'm saying that kooris and Lebos were aligned, it's because they were. If they weren't, Lebos will never be allowed to go into the kooris jails, you know. The kooris had something to offer, our prison and our muscle. The Lebos had something to offer, mobile phones, Ugdres, and whatever else that they could want inside prison. Because remember, like, the kooris boys come from broken homes and poverty, but the Lebo boys, they make money. They know how to make money. They know how to swindle moves. They're good at what they do. So it was a very good alliance for the Lebanese and the kooris boys. You know, I was in and amongst everything, so I know it inside out. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you stories that I heard. I was there when it was happening. You know, that's why I keep telling you. Everyone that went to Supermax, STG, IVO, these are all programs for high-profile inmates, yeah? This was not prison. You know, like when you're inside there, you get treated like a little kid, like a kindergarten kid, yeah? But the main, where the war was happening, Blue, appreciate you. This is real prison, you know, when you're in the main. That's why when I was in Supermax, I was the only person there trying to get out of Supermax. Turtle, appreciate you. Yeah, I was ringing the official visitor, I was ringing the ombudsman, and I was telling them all, country, appreciate you. I was even telling the commissioner, I am being held unjustly in Supermax and I want out now. Everyone that was in Supermax, in STG, in IVO, they were all proud to be in there. You know why? Because when you're in there, you're considered high profile. When you're in there, you're considered extreme high security. So they loved the status, you know? Not only did they love the status, they loved going in the forward drives. DVD, appreciate you. When you're an inmate inside prison, you're always all inmates go in trucks, so they go together. It's hot, it stinks, it's rubbish. But when you're an extreme high security inmate or high profile, they take you in a forward drive. So you're a cool dude, When you're walking, you're in orange overalls. You're the only one in orange overalls, and you're in shackles. So you walk like you're a machine, You're hectic, you're gangster. I'm telling you how it is. When you were in the main, that's where the real war was going on. When you were in those programs, there was no war going in there. It was just all friggin' people, all boys that were just going off at each other from friggin' cells. They appreciate you. And you see a fight once every freaking 4 months. You can't do nothing because you're stuck in cells, and you get treated like a cute little kindergarten kid. Say thank you, say please, and if you don't, you get knocked back to level 1. You got to start all over again. For those who are trying to explain war stories and jail shit, yes, you've been there. Yes. You were in and amongst it, but you don't understand. Trust me, I was there when all this was happening. That's why I explain it, because I'm not trying to say that any of your stories, there's about 6 boys that I counted now that do jail stories, on Instagram. There's probably 2 of them who just talk so much rubbish. 2 of them were in protection, so they shouldn't even be on this platform, But the other 4, they did jail time, and they survived their jail time. But when they're telling certain stories, they're not understanding what was actually happening, because they weren't in and amongst it. They were coming and going from Segro, or they were coming and going from the high-profile prisons, Let me tell you something. The kooris boys, they weren't to be effed with inside prison. And if they wanted, they could have just kept the prisons to themselves and told everyone, get effed, you aren't coming in here. But they didn't do that because they were smart. As much as you can call kooris boys junkies or whatever, at the end of the day, they knew, the kooris boys, we have to have an alliance with the Lebos boys because they're the ones that swindle moves. Wills, appreciate you. They're the smart ones. The Lebos are smart. That's what they are. We have to build a relationship with the Fijian boys, because why? The Fijian boys were against the Islanders now, and the kooris have always been against the Islanders. So, bang. Sanga, appreciate you. They aligned themselves with the Fijians. And then the Chinese came. Guess what? Again, the kooris boys are smart, because you know why? There's Chinese and there's Vietnamese. Vietnamese are the violent ones. The Chinese are the smart ones that make money. So what did the kooris boys say? I appreciate you. They said, F you to the Viets, because they were the ones that were aligned with the Islanders and they were going to war all the time. But the Chinese boys, they allowed them to come into their prisons. So all the Chinese that were coming into prisons, they were given the freedom to come into kooris prisons. And guess what happened? Courts, appreciate you. Whenever the kooris boys needed something, the Chinese boys offered it to them or gave it to them on a platter. Because why would the Chinese boys want to stay with the Viet boys? I was there 3 times when the Viet boys stomped on the Chinese boys' heads and extorted them for money inside Park Lee prison. Bro, I was there when $1.5 million was handed over to the Viet gangs after they jumped on a Chinese guy's head. So that's the reason why the Chinese decided, you know what, we're getting away from this Asian community that they're trying to build, and we want to go do our own thing. So a lot of the Chinese boys ended up going to Lithgow and Bathurst, and the kooris boys were more than happy to give them, and that was their excuse to the kooris boys. As soon as they walked in, they were like, no, we're Chinese, we're not Vietnamese, we're Chinese. There you go. 100% money talks, brother. You're not wrong, brother. Mate, when you're inside prison and you're swindling moves, there's 2 things that are going to happen. You're either going to be the go-to guy in prison, or you're going to get your head stomped on because they want to take what you got. You have to know how to make moves inside prisons. It's not just about knowing how to bring things in. It's knowing who you got to align yourself with. And that's what the Lebos guys did. They aligned themselves with the kooris boys because they could use the kooris boys to do their dirty work. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.